another player here that the Penguins have been connected to that fits the same mold as a Cody Glass, fits the same mold as a Philip Tomasino. Multiple reports are indicating the Penguins now have interest in Nils Hoglander of the Vancouver Canucks. It was reported by both Kevin Weeks of ESPN as well as Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet and 32 Thoughts, the podcast. Friedman had this to say when talking about the Penguins' potential interest in the young forward. Quote, "He's going through it right now in Vancouver. He's struggling to get ice time. I think there are some teams that are very interested. I think Pittsburgh would be one of those teams, and Pittsburgh makes a lot of sense." You hear the fact that Kyle Dubas is not done looking for young players that, as you're mentioning, could be cast-offs from their former teams. What do you think of the potential of Nils Hoglander, who is 23 years old and under control for the next 3 years at $3 million after this one?
I'll throw in Rick Dollywall from as a Vancouver reporter and insider also says the Penguins are really in. So there's a lot of people saying that the Penguins are taking a heavy look at Nils Hoglander, and it feels like a couple years in the making almost. I feel we've been discussing his name for ages.
Well, shout out to Jesse Marshall. He's been banging this drum for years.
Yeah. And it might finally happen, judging by, multiple reports of saying that they are one of the front runners. And it's more of the castaway, more of the, struggling to really make a difference with the team that he's on currently, but has the potential. He's still young. He's still under control. This could be it's just another good positive move forward. We're going to bring in the reclamation project because those are low risk moves in general. If they don't work out, well, as long as they don't cost a lot, I don't know Hoglander's contract off the top of my head.
3 years left at $3 million. He signed an extension that doesn't kick in until next year.
Ooh, that's a little tough.
But he's 23 years old. I mean, the guy's 23 years old, and he scored 24 goals last year.
He did, yes. And there's hope that he can. There's a lot of hope from a lot of teams that he can get back to that this year. The Canucks, like we said, they're a good team. They might not be reaching expectations, but they're still a very good team. And maybe he's just kind of getting lost in the shuffle there of certain areas need to pick up, and his ice time is declining as well down there over there. So maybe for him, a change of scenery on a team that doesn't have high expectations. So someone's got to go out there and do the thing. Why not? I mean, the extension not kicking in until next year is very interesting, that all of a sudden he's, being put on a trade block like that. You don't see that very often. But it's the Vancouver Canucks. It's Jim Rutherford in that front office. And he's going to have his eyes on certain pieces that maybe he's familiar with from the Penguins organization. And it's also something that Rutherford, in terms of looking to make a deal after signing an extension, but before it kicks in. Remember when the Penguins were in on JT Miller?
Yeah. That
deal hadn't started yet, and it was an $8 million deal. I mean, that was the Ron Hextall era. Those old discussions, and JT Miller ended up going on and being worth it for the first season of it with 103 points.
Yeah.
But this one is fascinating. $3 million kicking off next year for 3 seasons. I mean, he's under control, so that's a very attractive trade piece. I could see it totally, I don't want to say totally working out in the same way that Tomasino and Beauvillier have so far, but it's got the potential to do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, 23 years old. We mentioned it. 36 points in 80 games played last season. He was a big part of that resurgent Vancouver Canucks team, including 24 goals. I mean, once you score 20 goals in a season at $3 million, that's a bargain. Now, do you get that, or do you get this version of Nils Hoglander, who has 5 points, only 2 goals in 23 games played? Right? That's the risk, is you get him and he was a one season wonder and he never gets to that level again. But if it works out, and again, if this player isn't in the return, which I haven't heard, but we have heard that this name has been floated out there for high-end prospects in return before, I would love to pair Nils Hoglander and Rutger McGroarty in the Penguins lineup. Maybe not on the same line. They both primarily play left wing, but having both of those guys in your lineup, I think gives you an identity moving forward that the Penguins haven't had in a while. Nils Hoglander is not a massive human being. He is 5'9" and 185, but he plays bigger than he is? What have we always heard about Rutger McGroarty? He's built to play in the NHL, but he plays bigger than he is. I would love to see Hoglander and McGroarty be two, like, not pillars. I don't think they can be pillars of an organization, but two smaller pillars that are part of this kind of shotgun rebuild that the Penguins are trying to pull off here. I think those two would mesh very well in a Penguins lineup and help give you a little bit more of a physical identity, which the Penguins haven't had in a while.